Excelências, Presidente do Parlamento Nacional, Primeiro-Ministro, Presidente do Tribunal de Recurso, Procurador-Geral da República, Ministros, Membros do Parlamento, Chefe de Estado-Maior-General das Forças Armadas, Comandante-Geral PNTL, ex-titulares, membros do Corpo Diplomático. Dear friends from across our shared Lusophone heritage, it is a joy to open this fourth Asian Portuguese Community Conference here in Dili, to welcome fellow Lusophone communities from across Asia gives me a great sense of happiness. Thank you all for making the journey. You have come from the shores of Malacca and Macau, from the parishes of Bangkok, from the valleys of Myanmar and the hills of Goa, from Jakarta and Flores, from Sri Lanka and beyond. Each of you carries a piece of a shared history, a thread in a fabric that stretches across the Indian Ocean, across centuries and across cultures. This conference is more than a gathering. We are bringing a family together. It is a moment to reflect on our shared history, to strengthen our bonds of solidarity, and to tell our stories with pride and with honesty, as we look together towards a future built on friendship, respect, and renewal. Our shared story begins on the sea. In the 16th century, brave and curious men from a small country on the edge of Europe looked to the ocean. They launched small sailing ships, the caravellas, into the unknown, guided by the stars and a thirst for discovery. As Luis de Camões wrote in Os Lusíadas, they were moved by valor and arms and the mind's adventurous will. They sailed not only for spices and trade, but with a belief, both noble and naive, that the world could be mapped and known. Their journey was physical but also spiritual. They carried with them not only weapons but words. They brought faith and fear, violence and vision. They made the world smaller, but also larger. And in their wake, they left behind a new language, a new God, and emerging nations. In doing so, they reshaped the world. The Portuguese left a mark on Asia that time has not erased. Our communities are all proof of this undeniable truth. The result is something that endures, the birth of communities that are both European and Asian, resilient communities that have shaped the countries in which they live. We understand that while this heritage is complex, it is meaningful. In Timor-Leste, the Portuguese arrival changed everything. We were once a land of kingdoms. We shared a land and a culture, but we had no sense of national identity. It was the Portuguese and the broader European experience that introduced to us the idea of the modern nation-state. Today we speak of national sovereignty and independence as if they were eternal truths, but they are in fact the legacy of an idea carried by history and transformed by struggle. And it was this idea that forged our people with a sense of unity and national identity. And so, when our country was occupied and the time came to fight for independence, it was our history that gave our struggle its strength, the strength of common purpose, of shared language, and of unbreakable unity. It also gave the foundation to make our case to the world, to make our diplomatic argument for self-determination. It allowed us to speak with one voice, to articulate a legal and moral claim, and to engage with international law and the rights it protects to people. And this was made possible because we stood on foundations laid centuries ago. But friends, We are not only connected to Portugal, we are connected to each other. The Portuguese administered their Asian territories with a sense of interconnectedness. Cultural, administrative, and religious ties flowed between Goa and Malacca, between Flores and Sri Lanka. For a time, Timor was even administered by the governor of Macau. The church also played a central role in this web of connection. It brought not only faith, but also formal education, writing, and spiritual discipline. In our time of resistance, the church stood with us. It offered sanctuary, gave meaning to our suffering. In moments of despair, it held out hope. For many Timorese and for many across our Lusophone communities in Asia, the church was not just a spiritual refuge, but a guardian of culture, memory, and moral clarity. These shared histories are not just to be remembered, they shape who we are today. Across Asia, Portuguese descendant communities have survived wars, famines, migrations, and political upheaval. They adapted and endured. They safeguarded traditions, stories, rituals, and unique cuisines. Their survival is an act of defiance against forgetting. And yet, they are often invisible in national narratives, forgotten by textbooks and histories, treated as curiosities rather than as contributors to the richness of the nations in which they live. That is why it matters so much to come together. You are here not just to remember, but to reimagine, to agree on a shared path forward. You must value shared bonds, not as nostalgia, but as a foundation to resist the erosion of culture, the loss of stories, and the slow drift of communities. This conference gives you the space to reflect on the past and to celebrate the richness and diversity of the heritage represented by participants from across Asia. But as importantly, it gives you the chance to shape how the next chapter of this long story will be written. That's why this conference will discuss the proposed Dili Declaration. And that is why we are taking the historic step of establishing the Asian Portuguese Community Association, APCA. This association will be more than a network of people and communities. It is a promise and a commitment to persevere, to record, and to empower, to recognize the values of communities that are often marginalized or overlooked. The APCA will give voice to Asian Portuguese communities in conversation with governments and international institutions. It will support research, education, and economic sustainability. It will help protect the histories and identities of people whose cultures are mixed, complex, and proud. The goal is not only to honor the past, but to make that past a platform for renewal. This will include documenting oral history, supporting cultural festivals, and strengthening community-led development. It will ensure that the contribution of Portuguese descendant communities in Malaysia, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Thailand, India, and Indonesia is recognized as part of the great Asian story. I'm delighted that this conference provides a platform to build friendships and cooperation and to safeguard the continuity of centuries-old communities. Let us speak of peace, of solidarity, of the human dignity that unites us across countries and across generations. I urge you to be ambitious, to discuss how best you can teach and share your history, to support your communities, to join together in protecting a unique culture and heritage. I urge you to be brave and to look to the horizon, just as your ancestors did when they set sail into the unknown. Use your imagination to chart a course forward. As Timor-Leste moves toward ASEAN membership, we are reminded of the power of regional solidarity. We are reminded that in our large and complex world, we cannot stand alone. Timor-Leste identity as the only Portuguese-speaking country in Asia provides us with a powerful connection not just to Portugal and the countries of the CPLP, but to the Asian communities that share our links to the past. Timor-Leste is a mosaic of languages. Apart from the many maternal languages and the two official languages, Tetum and the Portuguese, we have two other languages prescribed in our constitution as working languages. Bahasa Indonesia, very alive and spoken by at least 40% of the people, and English by an increasing number of our youth. These two languages are functional and cultural realities in Timor-Leste. We are proud to host this conference. We do so not only to honor the past, but to shape the future. And we do so because we believe that in this community, we are not alone. Let us ensure that this conference is not the end of a conversation, but a beginning. Let it give birth to something lasting, not only institutional, but personal. Let the friendships formed here carry forward long after the banners are taken down. In a world increasingly driven by division and conflict, this conference gives us the opportunity to come together in peace, solidarity, and friendship. If we have the courage to continue what begins here, with generosity, with clarity, and with purpose, that will be the true legacy of this conference. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Obrigado.
2 and 3. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with that, the 4th Asian Portuguese Community Conference is officially open.
Signore e signori, lasciamo oficialmente l'opera quarta conferenza das comunidades Luzu-Aziática.